as you can see, we're doing another map video. If you've seen the other map videos I've done, this is going to be straight from memory, off the dome. No references, none of that. And today I want to try my hand at drawing a map of Canada as I remember it. So, I'm definitely going to get things wrong in this. Please don't take it too seriously. So we're going to start over here. And the border is probably going to look a little scuffed, but it should be something akin to this kind of shape. There's like a little bit here that it goes up, over like that, and then goes that way to the west coast. And then we do up like this, and then over, and then it goes like this, and then there's a bunch of like islands up in this area, but we're just gonna cut over like that, and I think we can start with that. And I know this looks a lot like the United States right now, but it's just a general shape of things. So let's get in. We're gonna start over here, make our way west, about roughly here, I think, in that area like this. This is Prince Edward Island right here, which means there's an area about yay big, something like that. Up here, this is Newfoundland, I believe is how you say it. Newfoundland, which is not how it's spelled, but that is how it's pronounced, I believe. Which means this little chunk next, right here, like this. There's an airplane flying overhead. Okay, as I was saying, this chunk here next to Newfoundland, this is Quebec. So Quebec, I hope is how you spell it. There might be an E I'm missing in there, but this is Quebec, which would mean down somewhere in here. I believe right about there. I believe this is Montreal. Montreal there. And then this next bit, which I believe is shaped roughly like that. I believe this rough shape. This. What is the name of this province? I just had it. It's not. Is it Manitoba? I think it's Manitoba. No, it's Ontario. It's Ontario. I apologize. This is Ontario, which means roughly down in here. This is where Toronto is found, which would then mean is roughly in this area. Roughly is Niagara. Niagara Falls is roughly there, which would then, of course, mean that across the way here, I'm just gonna draw a line like this. This little box here, this is New York. I know that's not what New York looks like, but that is the rough general area of where New York would be on this map, and then you'd have New England sort of up in here. And then I believe this section here, and there are a bunch of islands and stuff over here, so we'll draw little islands and stuff. This, I believe, goes like that, and this, I believe, is none of it. I think that's how it's spelled. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe that is where none of it is located, and it's right on the Arctic Circle up here. This is the Arctic Circle, and this is known as the Canadian Shield. Up here, it's not really inhabitable. As it stands right now, there's not a lot of people that live in this this should be Manitoba. Manitoba. And I believe this is where Winnipeg is, which is roughly there. So Winnipeg. I don't quite know how capitals work in Canada. I don't know if Winnipeg is the capital of Manitoba or what's going on there, but I believe that is about roughly where that would be located, but I'm not entirely sure. And the only reason I even know where Winnipeg is because in high school I read a book, and in this book there were these people that came from Minnesota, which is just to the south, and they used a canoe, and they canoed all the way up into Lake Winnipeg up here, and then they went further north into the Hudson Bay, which I don't actually have mapped on here properly, but I think it's right about there is where Hudson Bay is supposed to be. And then they went up into the Hudson Bay, went all the way across, and then went back down the Hudson River into New York. And I don't remember anything else about that book. I just remember that's roughly the direction that they went. So this here, we're just going to draw a nice little box here. This is, I believe, the Northwest Territories. I believe. Northwest Territories. And all the way up here, just way north, in this area is a small little town called Yellowknife. And the only reason I know that exists is because of ice road truckers. They would go to Yellowknife quite a lot, and it's very hard to get to, as I understand. There's like only 2 roads going in or out of the place, and most of them are completely inaccessible for most of the year. But I could be wrong on that. Feel free to correct me, of course. Next, we've got a little area right there. This should be Alberta, Canada. And the only thing I know that exists in Alberta, Canada, at least I believe, is in Alberta, is Calgary, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I believe Calgary is roughly here. So this is Calgary. And the only reason I even know Calgary exists is because, of course, of the National Hockey League. And I don't even watch hockey all that much. I just know that in the National Hockey League, Calgary kind of gets a bad rap as not a very good franchise. So, well, most of the Canadian teams don't have a very good reputation, as far as I can tell. The Winnipeg Jets have not been good for a very long time. The Toronto Maple Leafs haven't won a title in many moons, as far as I understand it. Calgary, of course, has the Flames, and they're a team that exists. That's about the extent of it. I know Edmonton is somewhere in Canada. I have no idea, not even the slightest clue where Edmonton is. You know, it could be in Ontario, it could be Manitoba, it could be Alberta, it could be none of it, it could be anywhere in here, but I just do not have any clue where Edmonton is. But I do know they're the Oilers, and that's where Wayne Gretzky played, and that's about my extent of my knowledge of Edmonton. So, we're almost done. Up here, I don't think this is quite the right shape, but up here, this is Yukon. Now, I don't know anything about Yukon other than there's a show, I think, on the Weather Channel, either the Weather Channel or like Travel Channel or Discovery, or one of those like vaguely educational channels where there's a show called the Yukon Gold Rush that my mom is a very big fan of for whatever reason. It doesn't make any sense to me, but she just loves to watch that show. I don't understand. It seems so fake to me. It seems like total nonsense. Okay, they're up in Yukon. They're in this frozen taiga area, and they're just looking for gold. And it's this whole big thing. It looks so fake to me. I can't imagine why anyone would watch that. But you know, what do I know? So finally, we have over here British Columbia, which, you know, when you think about it, the naming doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Because Colombia is in South America. How is this British Columbia? My history, of course, is not the most versed when it comes to countries outside of my own. But how on earth are you going to call this British Columbia? What's the, what's the whole thing there? Because, again, Columbia's down this way, way that way. And I think it's called Columbia because of Christopher Columbus, which is, ridiculous. But I want to say that's why it's called Columbia. I could be completely wrong on that, but Columbia is that way. Why is this British Columbia? It's on the other side of the world, basically. I don't know. But in British Columbia, the only city that I know exists over here is down in this area. And this is Vancouver. Vancouver is there. I don't know a whole lot about Vancouver. I know it's north of Seattle. Seattle, of course, being somewhere in there. But other than that, I don't know a lot. Well, actually, there was a YouTuber I used to watch many moons ago. His name is The Ragin' Nation, and he did a lot of videos about Transformers and the production timeline of the new Transformers movies. And I remember every time there was a new Transformers movie coming out, I was always tuning into his channel just to see what was happening. And during like Age of Extinction, Transformers 4, they would post like set photos and show off all the cars and stuff, and that was fun. And I believe he is from Vancouver, Canada. So that's about my extent of information about Vancouver, Canada. Some YouTuber I used to watch lived there. I think also Vanos Gaming, I think, is from Vancouver. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I watched a lot of Vanos Gaming content back in the day, and I think he's also from Vancouver. So that is about the extent of my knowledge of how that plays out. Again, Edmonton is in here somewhere. I'm not entirely sure where. I might be missing. Well, I know I'm missing, like, majorly in the center of Canada. The Hudson Bay is in here somewhere, but that kind of slipped in my mind a little bit when drawing these borders, so that's a bit of a mistake on my end. But, all in all, I don't think I did too bad. I think I have everything where it's supposed to be. I know this was a bit of a quicker video, but I hope it's still just as relaxing. I hope you did enjoy it, and I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now. I thank you very much for watching. I hope to speak